she would lay on that bed, and I think she was like assaulted, and Cruz was always out her Latin cop husband was always trying to go out and find her attacker. So I remember thinking as a girl, oh, so it's sexy to be attacked. So then I was like, can a bitch get assaulted around here?
I'm just curious. Have you been looking for something to jumpstart yourself off the couch? Because sometimes you just need a goal or something to get you started. So if you're looking for that and you're willing to come to Tampa on May 4th, please go to twobears5k.com and register today for the Two Bears 5K. Bert, Tom, Jelly Roll, all running at the Raymond James Stadium for the Two Bears 5K second annual. Again, please join us as twobears5k.com. The more, the merrier. There's lots of activations. Porosos is sponsoring. It's going to be an amazing day. So come run and party and recover with us. You are so funny.
Wallpaper. Thank you for saying that and for watching my special. Thank you.
Of course. I mean, you hit the ground running on that special. It's
I tried.
Joke, 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 joke. Like the first half hour, I watched the whole thing, but the first half hour, I stopped and reflected and went, she has not slowed down from the beginning.
Yeah. One person told me, I'm turning my phone off. One person told me that, you should have some moment with like more vulnerability, but I didn't really do that in this special. And I also feel like I didn't have time to waste because I'm trying to make that transition, and I'm like, I got to get them right away. A lot of people have no idea, who I am. They're just like, who is this skanks? I got to get right to it.
Right.
Yeah. That's how I feel. I felt like that this was one where I had to start off like there couldn't be any meandering green room scenes. I needed to get a laugh off the bat. Yeah.
Yes. I think that's the best way.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
I feel like nobody wants to be behind the scenes in my process. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody wants to know the inside baseball of like stand up. At least that's what I've experienced. And certainly not with me because I don't have this massive following yet. So I'm just like, yeah, let me just do my job really quickly and show them I could do it.
Yes. Well, you do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just so rich. And I love that you just jumped right into talking about your husband. And it just was really good. It's on Netflix. It's called.
Thank you.
It's called. Oh my God.
Big Guy.
Big Guy. My brain was going, "Hey Guy." And I goes, he's not Hey Guy. He's not Hey Guy. Big Guy.
Yes, because my husband calls me Big Guy. Yeah.
Why does he call you Big Guy? Where did that come from?
Because he's an emotional desert. I think he thinks it's funny, but it's like if there was, he just. I talk about it in the special, but I'm like, that's what you call like a union trucker. But he'll be like, "Hey, big yay!" And now that it's the name of the special, people are always like, "Oh, now does he see?" Because I mock so much in this special how he's, kind of like worthless romantically,
yes,
completely worthless. And I feel like people are like, "Oh, does he see now?" I'm like, no, he loves it even more because now he gets more attention for it. Yeah, so now he thinks it's even more fun. He's like, "See?" And I'm like, no, like he doesn't get the layers of irony. He's just excited that it's called Big Guy. Like when I did Kelly Clarkson, he had the band play a Big Guy like song. He started singing the song to Kelly. He was like in the audience, and then she was like, "Oh, we should have the band back you up." And then he's like, "Hey, she's my big guy." And then he just started like, after that, it was like, oh, forget it. Now he's got a band backing up his dumb fucking tune.
That's hysterical.
It's infuriating.
From your special, he seems like a pretty big personality though. No?
Yes, he is. He's very like, he's kind of like my type. Yeah, he's kind of just a working class dude. He likes to buy in bulk. There's not a lot of, there's not a lot of layers to Pete. Like we never like leave a party later and he's like, when you said this, I thought that, like he's just like meat and potatoes. That's my thing.
So how'd you meet?
We were actually set up. My friend, I was hanging out at, this is kind of a dark time for me. I was hanging out at steakhouses because I heard men hang out at steakhouses.
So funny.
It's so humiliating. I think Patty Stranger, I can't say her name. She was some like lady at a dating show called Millionaire Matchmaker, and she said that men hang out in steakhouses. So it was a very dark time, and I was just spending a lot of time at like Keen's Steakhouse in Midtown.
That's hysterical.
And kind of leering at strangers. I was on the road like every weekend. You know when you're like this was a time in my career where I didn't realize I had a choice, and they were just like working me like a horse. Like I was just away all the time and violently lonely, because it's a very opposite situation for female comics. It's not like it is with guys on the road, you know? So it's just sort of dangerous. And then I wanted to meet somebody. So I was just hanging out and doing a lot of feeding, just really pigging out at a steakhouse. And then my friend came and met me. She's really hot. Like she's the kind of hot, like where she's been hot her whole life and has a lot of confidence. So I kind of brought her to Keane's Steakhouse to be my wing woman. But instead, she kind of had an intervention with me about how much time I was spending there.
That's brilliant. Well, you know, that's a good friend.
The story was until I started to say it.
But that's a good friend. And you should definitely talk about this on stage, because that's hysterical. Just saying I was frequenting steakhouses because the Millionaire Matchmaker said to the world, that's where rich men, or that's where hot men, or that's where men in general are.
Dudes. Yeah.
That's so funny.
I'm more just attracted to just any guy. It could be a UPS uniform. I just like any uniform.
It's just a dude. Like,
just some guy comes home, looks like he'd throw his gun in the sink and punch a wall. That's my type.
I understand.
Yeah. So she was like, she's married to a firefighter, and she was like, you should be with the firemen. They kind of are like us. They work same hours. They're away for a few days and they're home for the rest of the week. And they don't judge your job, because most guys would get a kick out of what I did for 24 hours, and then they were annoyed by it. So it's like, he doesn't care that I'm working on Christmas because he's working on Christmas. So she was like, she texted her husband and she asked him for firefighter options for me.
Oh my God.
And he had like 2 options ready, which I still think about. Like, I'm like, well, how did he have like 2 headshots on his phone of firemen?
And
like
boom,
he just
boom.
came back really fast with 2 ridiculous pictures. Yeah. And my friends all called him Backdraft. They're like, you're going to marry Backdraft? I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to marry Backdraft.
Is Backdraft?
Yeah, Pete's Backdraft.
Why do they call him Backdraft?
Because there's a movie about firemen called Backdraft.
Yes.
I've never seen it. But just kind of, I think they just didn't take him seriously. So they didn't think I was actually going to marry him. They just were like, oh, you're not going to marry Backdraft. Like, I'm going to marry Backdraft.
That's so funny.
So, yeah. Yeah, he kind of, it worked. And it got, I feel like it gives me a lot of material too. So that doesn't hurt. But our lives are just, we couldn't be from more opposite backgrounds, So
Seems like it. It sounds like, I know that your mom grew up Methodist, your dad's Jewish, right?
Yeah.
And your mom converted to Judaism. They met at UC Santa Barbara, right?
How do you know all this? Oh, by the way, this is really funny. My Wikipedia got switched with this other Rachel Feinstein. This is all on Wikipedia, I'm remembering. And she's this famous sculptor. So a lot of times our facts get switched up. And I get offers that are really made for Rachel Feinstein, the sculptor. And then I'll get softly unoffered the things. So my agent called and he was like, hey, do you want to be on Oprah? Or no, Oprah wants to meet you. It's like a special dinner with people that Oprah's intrigued by.
Right.
And you walk different if you think Oprah's intrigued by you. I was, a little cocky for a few weeks.
Of course.
And then he called back and he was like, oh, actually looks like they wanted the other Rachel.
That's awful. How terrible.
This keeps happening where I get offered things and then softly unoffered them. And also,
okay, you have to talk about this on stage also, please. That's hysterical, because every single woman in America would die 1,000 deaths if Oprah said, can you come to a special private secret dinner?
I thought she was intrigued by me.
Right?
Yes, it was so painful. And then I was telling everybody, I was like, oh, Oprah wants to meet me. Some of them I'm like, I should have sniffed that out. One person was like, hey, Oprah, or no, it wasn't Oprah. It was some fashion magazine. It was like Vogue. You're going to be honored Vogue's night of fashion icons. I mean, I shop at fucking Forever 21. I'm just an everyday skank. I should have known that. I should have sniffed that one out. You definitely walk different when you think you're going to be fucking. I was like, I'm going to be honored as a Vogue game changer or whatever the fuck. And then I found out again, it was the other Rachel Feinstein. And I told everybody too. I was like, I have fun with some scarves sometimes.
Vogue's bringing things down to reality here. They're like, look what you can do with Forever 21. It's insane. Look at Rachel. Amazing.
Yeah. So then this always happens. Then she gets offered things for me, which are probably insanely insulting for her. She gets offered crackers in Indiana or something, And then, so somehow it happened that fucking ages got switched.
What?
So now it says that I'm 10 years older than I am on Wikipedia.
No.
Yes.
No.
And I'm like frantically writing to everybody, like, and nobody knows. Like my publicist is like, oh, I think that's a digital person. And everyone's like, yeah. And everybody just thinks they're like, oh, you look good, for your age.
For 84?
Yeah, it says I'm 54 right now.
That's bad.
It says I'm 10 years older than I am. And I'm like, look, I need those 10 years.
Yes,
I'm running out already.
We all do.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And somehow I'm like, of course, that's the detail that gets switched. Why couldn't it be like, her story is like so amazing. It's like her husband was painting her for years and then he met the woman he was painting. He's a famous like modern artist. I'm like, why couldn't that be on my wiki?
Or your net worth.
Yeah, or my fucking net worth.
Yes,
Come
that'd
on.
be awesome.
God damn it.
I think that you should deep dive everyone with your name now.
I know, I should.
Because there's got to be more than just the two of you to see what other people have going on. That's a really, that's a really funny premise for a joke, I think.
Yeah, maybe I should talk about it.
I think you absolutely, that is insane.
And then it happened, somehow it got switched because where I grew up in Bethesda, Maryland, and I like never properly closed my bank account there because I'm an active mess. And somehow like I owed like Chase Bank in Bethesda like $70. And we have a mutual friend, me and the other Rachel Feinstein. And the friend was like, hey, Rachel says you need to close that account because somehow she's getting letters about, owing $70 to Chase Bank.
Oh my gosh. That's so crazy.
Like the dumbest amount of money too. But what are you going to do?
That's hysterical.
By the way, you're a very good mom. You were on the phone with your daughter, helping her and being such a good mom just now.
Yeah, she's at college. She's a freshman. She's been sick a lot. And, our older daughter was sick a lot her freshman year also.
Yeah.
Different kind of sick, but like a revolving door of antibiotics for like a year for my older daughter. And now it seems to be a revolving, like every 5 seconds, she's like dying of an ailment. And some of it is really, most of it, I don't want to say some of it, most of it, she really is sick. Mm-hmm. And then every once in a while, I'm like, I think you're like shell shocked because you've been sick so much that you like bump your elbow and suddenly have the flu. Like they're not even connected. But now we're going to the hospital because of something, because she's just like a little shell shocked. So
are you like very organized as a mom and taking care of all the kind of that basics and their insurance and their forms and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm that boring person, yeah.
No, I mean, it's the way to be.
I mean much like you and your husband, I think me and my husband are a yin and yang.
Yes.
Right? So we kind of complement each other. That man can't keep up with anything. Not his wallet, not his Rogaine, not his nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm just super organized. So
I want that quality so bad. Like multiple people could be stealing from me right now and I would have no idea.
He wouldn't either. He would have no idea.
I have nothing.
He doesn't even know where we bank. Like if someone said, go to the bank, he would go, which one?
It's so good to have somebody that you can trust, like early on, that you can really trust like that. Because I mean, it's anyone's guess where like somebody stole. I know that one time I was like applying for a new apartment and I had to get out my bank statements and I was like, oh, somebody stole like 14 grand from me.
What?
It was really bad. Yeah. They took my like checks, who even uses checks anymore? I think I had like an old checkbook and they were writing checks to themselves. And I have no idea who this person is or how this happened.
Wow.
But I'm just a very easy person to scam because I'm like teeming with ADD, like at the airport when I got here, they like paged me because I left my wallet on the plane. One time I was in an audition and I took the bathroom key like on a big piece of like California driftwood or something. And I really bombed. So I was like, I can't go back there. This is humiliating.
Threw it in the LA River and let the driftwood float away. Good luck going to the bathroom, suckers, right?
I just found it in my purse. It was so embarrassing.
How big was your purse?
I always have a big vat of a bag.
You do have
like
a big purse.
Slovenly sack.
That way you have everything.
It's not a woman's purse. It's a disgusting rags purse.
It's a disgusting rag. What do you use these rags for? Why are you walking around with rags?
I usually have like other outfits with me. Like I think other things are going to happen to me during the day or something.
That's so funny. That's called the trunk of Bert's car.
Really?
He has probably 4 pair of shoes, 5 or 6 hats, several t-shirts and jackets in the trunk of his car, and they stay there forever. And my brain is like, I'm like, have a tick just looking at, I can't put my groceries on top of your clothes. What are you doing? What are you doing? And he says, you never know when you need like to change your outfit. And I'm like, you kind of do.
You kind of do.
Like,
You're right. I don't know what it's like. Do I think there's going to be a sudden casting call? Like, what do I think is about to happen to me? Like, somebody's going to put me in the pictures like it's 1940 and I need another outfit. I always have. I'll show you. I have it with me. Hold on. Look at this.
Great bag.
Look at this.
First of all, great bag.
Look at this pig's sack.
That's
right
a
here.
big bag.
This is ridiculous. It's unacceptable.
It's a bucket.
If there's nobody near me, somebody needs to set limits with me. Because my aunt's usually screaming at me, but she was pulling the card. I'm staying with my aunt tonight. She'd be like, stop it. What the fuck is that? She's always cursing my Aunt Lois. Yeah, but it's like I have a jacket. I have like a different sundress. It's ridiculous. I have a purse inside of the purse.
A purse inside of the purse. Classic.
Yeah, what a pig.
That's hysterical.
I always have sprays, like things like this, like just in case, like construction level things.
What is that?
This is like a tanner.
It's a bronzer? Oh my God. Are you going to bronze on the go? How could you ever bronze on the go? Don't you have to exfoliate first?
What happen? This is disgusting.
That's so funny.
I've learned that a really big sack like this is violently unattractive to men. Like I've had multiple guys be like, what the fuck do you have that thing for? Like I think it just looks kind of like a whore's slovenly,
It's so
disgusting.
Funny. My friend's husband calls it a boner preventer.
Really? It is. It's a turn off.
It's a boner preventer. He says that about like peasant dresses.
Yeah.
And big bags.
And big bags.
Like something's going on. She's got a big bag.
You're right. Because they know that we have little like my grandmother used to talk about whores. She always had a lot of rules about whores. And she used to say, she would say this about suitcases, not bags, but she'd be like, I'll tell you what she has in that suitcase. She has all kinds of creams and rinses to cover her whoring.
As we all do.
All kinds of elixirs and powders.
Oh my God.
But I think it's less the whoring. It's just that like that people assume that maybe you have like, I don't know, all kinds of just different sprays and just coverings. Like you're not really who you are, which is very true about me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even, this is just a Paris filter.
Oh
yeah.
my God. I think you are exactly who you represent yourself to be. Every time
I just mean that I'm always spraying myself and, I painted an active lie on my face.
Well, we all do that though. That's called society. That's not you.
Thank you.
It's just the way we have to function.
Yeah.
So when you sat down, you said you carry guilt about leaving your daughter?
Yeah, well, I've been trying to bring her as much as I can. And I brought her to Dallas. She's 4.
Okay.
So usually we go on the road together with her. So Pete will work for a few days and then we take turns and then I'll work for a few days. But a lot of times when I'm on the road, we bring her together and I couldn't bring her this week. It was just too much. And I'm scheduling. I saw like how you're doing. I schedule things from home. Otherwise, like my husband doesn't know what to do with her. Like otherwise I'll come home at like, 11, they'll be up watching Casino or something. Like I have to figure out every moment of her night from afar. So I know that feeling as a mom when you're trying to like do it all from across the country. So I feel like I have a play date for her yesterday and today. And, she doesn't know the difference and I'll be home tomorrow. But yeah, I'm always throbbing with guilt.
Aww.
You feel like that too?
No, I don't.
Oh, I guess you don't need to. Yeah, you've been much more hands-on.
Bert is throbbing with guilt.
Really?
About even today still because, Bert's pretty white picket fence. When he gets home, he's like, Dad, drop off, pick up, cooks dinner. We all go, shopping together. He was really hands-on. But, the reality was he left on Wednesday and came back Sunday night or Monday morning before school's out. And, he always felt really guilty, but I always said it's quality over quantity. I saw my dad every other weekend.
Right.
And my relationship with him and my memories of his parenting are so great because he was plugged in and he was really present.
Yeah.
And so, I think you could work in a bank and get home at 6:00 and suck as a mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're really doing your very best when you're present and with her, all she wants from you is your focus and your time. Life of the Party is sponsored by Masterclass. What's something your mom's always wanted to do? Get into painting, write a novel, make the perfect croissant. Whatever it is, this Mother's Day, you can finally help her achieve it with Masterclass. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best. Masterclass is the only streaming platform where you can learn and grow with over 200 plus of the world's best. For just $10 a month billed annually, a membership with Masterclass gets you unlimited access to every single instructor. It's an amazing deal. And you can access Masterclass on your phone, computer, smart TV, or even in audio mode. And the classes really make a difference. 88% of members feel that Masterclass has made a positive impact on their lives. I love Masterclass because I feel like I'm getting almost like one-on-one teaching from someone who is clearly an expert in their field. And I think it's invaluable. I can apply it to parenting, to my marriage, to my day job. It's a wonderful resource and worth every penny. Our listeners always get great discounts on Masterclass of at least 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/wife. See Masterclass's latest deal, at least 15% off, at masterclass.com/wife. Masterclass.com/wife. When I started this podcast, it seemed like I had to figure it all out on my own. Scripts, setup, filming schedule, logos. It was super overwhelming. And every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer. And when you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day with new tasks. And that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product's photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. We've been using Shopify for literally years, and it's such an amazing tool as a business owner. It makes the back of the house, like bookkeeping, inventory tracking, really accessible and easy. It's just so user-friendly. We love it. Turn your big business idea into cha-ching with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/wife. Go to shopify.com/wife, shopify.com/wife.
And I also realized that most of the day I am there because I don't work during the day. So if I have to go away, I don't tour, I tour like 2 days or, 3 days, maybe twice a month. So if I'm gone 6 days a month or something, or, 5 or 6 days a month, then I'm like, okay, well, the rest of the week I'm home with her during the day and I'm doing, but it's just a hard feeling because I don't know. I also feel like I'm more present because I do what I love, but so that when I'm, when I come home, I'm like really there,
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's just a guilt that's always there.
I think it's there for every mom.
Yeah.
I have guilt about things that, and I was there every day.
Right. Right.
I have guilt about my kids had some pretty serious sleep anxiety, and I don't think I handled it well. I handled it.
I don't know. How do you handle sleep anxiety? That's a tricky one.
Well,
I don't know.
I didn't really recognize it as I recognized it as a kid that's scared to sleep, as opposed to this is actually maybe something a little different than that.
Mm-hmm.
And that they need a little bit of professional help, and that they need someone to give them tools so that they can figure out how to get to sleep. They're not. So my tough it out, it didn't really fly, and I have a lot of guilt about that. I was like, oh, that's a bummer. I should have paid a little better attention.
I wouldn't immediately have connected those two things. It's tricky. I mean, you do the best you can in the moment. It's always easy to beat for somebody else. When I see anybody else that I can tell is a good mom beating themselves up, it's very clear, but never when it's you.
Yeah, right? That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Never when it's you.
Yeah, we give ourselves a lot of shit. We do I don't know. I'm just one day at a time. At least they have fun, playful lives, Your kids have really interesting lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they ever come on the podcast?
Yeah. They've
Really?
done the podcast a lot. Yeah.
Do they have fun coming on?
They do, yes. I don't know that they've ever done Bert's. They only do mine. I don't know why. I think Bert's audience is a little too big.
Yeah.
I think that's a little too
I could see them feeling more under the spotlight or something. There's something about being with your mom also that's probably calming.
Yes. And we have my podcast is just conversation. It's not an interview I just want to have a conversation with someone that I find interesting.
Yeah.
And I find my children infinitely interesting. And they move from stage to stage and become interesting in different ways. It's really fascinating to watch. If you can find a place of detachment with your kids and staying really attached, so you can just kind of observe and ask the question, who are you?
Yeah.
The whole time you're parenting, who are you? Because that who are you kind of comes and goes. Like that particular personality or person will ebb and flow in and out of who they are. Sometimes they're confident, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're anxious, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're smart, sometimes they're not,
Yeah.
And it's really fascinating to watch how they navigate that.
I do feel like I'm learning not to try to fix her feelings, but just to let her have them and watch them and not try to come in there and find some solution.
Yeah.
But it's not easy. I was telling my friend the other day, I was like, I'm just worried because she's an only child that she'll feel a little bit lonely. And she's like, she probably will. It is hard, I was like, I tried to have another kid, but we couldn't,
Yeah.
We tried, we had miscarriages, so we tried, but it's she's like, she might, but just let her, you're not going to solve all of her feelings for her. She'll also have a delightful life for a lot of other reasons. Yeah. So that didn't even occur to me that wasn't mine to try to immediately address somehow.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to be aware of because you can apply that to so many other things.
That's so true.
Our youngest daughter has dyslexia and has dyslexia and has it pretty strongly. And for a long time I was like, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help?
Yeah,
how can I help?
Yeah.
And then at a certain point I was like, helping is just letting her figure it out.
Yeah.
I put interventions, or as they call it, in place because I was doing my due diligence. I was being a good mom. But at a certain point where you go, all right, the juice really isn't worth the squeeze here. We're just going to have to figure this out. I can't put her in another tutor session. This sucks.
Yeah.
She's going to be fine. I just got to get her out of high school.
I went to so many tutors, and this will make you feel better. One of the math tutors that I had, I found out later, molested a gaggle of kids.
What?
But I believe that he didn't molest me because I was really bad at math and I annoyed the shit out of him.
Oh my God.
By the way, he tutored me in a weird dark basement.
What?
And, only in the 80s would nobody question this.
No, right?
Yeah. I was my mom would just drop me off and, she didn't know. But that he was, molesting a gaggle. Is that how you?
Yeah.
I don't know. Gaggle is a good word for a group of molested girls. So anyway, she would just drop me. I would go downstairs and he would sit in the basement with me and we would try to do word problems. And he would get increasingly annoyed with me because I would have questions before the problem part. I'd be like, but why would she have the, and he's like, it's not even the difficult part yet. I'm like, but why would Natalie have 4 Skittles? He's like, what the God damn it. He was just so pissed. Don't even remember him looking at my thigh.
Oh my God.
Completely unaroused. Yeah.
He's probably going, she is so unattractive.
I think
because you were like, these word problems, gosh, it's just so this one.
He was so furious at me because I wouldn't learn. Yeah, that he was just violently unattracted to me. He was just like, come on, it's not even, and he couldn't do it. He wanted to do his job as well, I think. God bless him. And he just couldn't do it with me. They couldn't stuff the information in my brain. I went through so many tutors. They just couldn't do it. It was closed like a box. I wasn't going to open it to math.
So hear me out. You should weave that into why you're frequenting steakhouses. Right? I'm scarred because I found out that I was unmolestable by my math teacher, so I frequented steakhouses.
I didn't find out till much later that he molested people, but it did make a lot. But I did feel very rejected by him early on. Yeah, for different reasons. But yeah, it did hurt. But the steakhouse thing was very strange. It was a dark time in my life, for sure. I also, speaking of all my extra clothes and my rancid sack, I also used to change. No, I didn't, not regularly, but I once changed on a date. So
in the middle of a date?
In the middle of the date. Isn't that the craziest thing you've ever heard?
That's interesting. Why? Why? Were you feeling insecure in what you're...
I think it was because I brought a second dress again and I got drunk and I was pretty trash, like just violently drunk at that point. I was like 24. And I decided that I wanted him to see me in this red dress. Like that if he could just see me in the red dress, then he'd really, really like me. You know what I mean? I wanted him to see both sides of me. So I pretended to spill a drink on myself.
Oh my God.
I know, it's so dark. And then I went to the bathroom and changed into the other dress. What's fascinating to me is that not just how shithouse crazy that is, but the fact that he knew. Like I came out of the bathroom and he's like, wait, you spilled that on purpose so that you could show me the other dress. But I'm like, how would he know? How could he ever guess?
Right?
I mean, that is crazy. I was crazier than a shithouse rat. How would he have guessed that those would be my series of thoughts? Like it's almost impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, you did that on purpose. And I was like, yeah, I did.
You got me. Oh my God.
How about a fingering? We still hooked up after that. He didn't care. He still wanted to get laid. But but he caught me. Yeah. And I think I just thought like, oh, if he sees me in this other dress, then he'll be really aroused. Then I'll really seal the deal.
I had moments like that too. I think.
Did you really? You
did.
seem very comfortable in your own skin.
Now I'm 55.
Right.
I should be. If not, I got real problems.
Yeah.
Although menopause does make you uncomfortable again. And then you got to figure it out. But yeah, I remember I was younger. I remember being like at a school dance and like posing, like looking like I hope he doesn't look at me, but look at me. And my best friend's brother was like, look at her. She's posing for you because she wants you to look at her. And I'm like,
devastating.
Lee Wood. You did it. You know you did, Lee Wood. It embarrassed me.
Fucking Lee Wood.
So bad. I was like,
did he come over the guy or did you ever date that guy or see that guy or?
He finally did ask me to dance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, caveat, his name was Rodney. I don't remember his last name. He was about 2 inches shorter than me and I was like 4 foot nothing.
Yeah.
So, but he was adorable and he asked me to dance at the school dance and I danced with him. But Lee embarrassed the shit out of me. Yeah. And I was 100% doing what he said.
I used to do that all the time. I posed and had different kind of, I always thought like for guys to like you had to kind of look a little despondent. It was very similar to that expression. Yeah. Just sort of like far off. Like I would try to create really dark sort of backstories in my mind, that I thought would arouse men. I think also because I used to watch this soap opera. I don't know if anybody remembers this, Santa Barbara.
Who doesn't? I saw episode 1.
You like Santa Barbara too?
I loved Santa Barbara.
I was obsessed with Santa Barbara.
Cruz. What is his name? Cruz. Yes. Cruz and Eden.
And he was always rescuing Eden. And Eden was everything I wasn't. I just wanted to be her. I wanted blonde, silky, fucking, Hitler Youth hair. I wanted to look like Eden and I wanted to have a hot Latino cop just keep rescuing me. And so I thought that's what men wanted. Wait.
You kind of do. You married a firefighter.
Kind of. Except
and you're gorgeous like Eve.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I feel heinous and I just read a bad comment today that I shouldn't have read.
What? Don't listen to that.
I know you can't.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Somebody wrote to me once, somebody wrote on a comment under one of my videos once, her arms are fatter than last week. I'm like, so you're tracking my arm fat.
What?
That's what it's like, come on.
You need a life. Whoever's tracking your arm fat needs a life. Come on. That's so funny. I just watched her special this morning. I was like, damn, she looks so good. I love this mini skirt. Her legs look great. She looks healthy. And I mean healthy in like a fit, healthy, good
I eat. Yeah,
way.
I don't have an eating disorder. I have the thoughts that would accompany an eating disorder, but I'm too lazy to actually go through with it. Yeah. But at the end, I just wanted to do more feeding, so I don't really care that much. Yeah.
Right. No, I thought you looked amazing. So don't listen to that person, especially if they're legitimately.
I need to not listen to, I shouldn't. What am I doing in the comment section at all? I mean, I know exactly what I'm doing. I feel like when you're in the comment section, you're looking for the bad thing. You're not looking for the good thing. Because I'll read 3 positive comments, but I keep going. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find that your arms are fatter than last week. You know what I mean? It's like I'm searching for the rejection.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's this great Sturgill Simpson song, and I can't remember the name of the song, but he has a line in there that says, I wish happiness left scars too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's true.
We are scarred by all this negativity.
Yeah.
But happiness doesn't leave a mark.
It never ends. All that work to do to remove those old, it's that old childhood shit. I remember those first comments guys made to me too. I remember walking home from school with this guy, Wesley Tibbs, and him explaining what was wrong with my thighs to me.
What?
Like he wanted me to solve it. Like it was some kind of equation. He's like, it's just like they're fatter up top, but it's like too fat, like not the normal. He was trying to go through the ratios with me, this dick. Yeah. And me just listening intently. And then that was just locked in my brain for the rest of my life. Yeah. But you know, those first few things. And I'm sure guys said nice shit to me too. But those are the things that I remember, of course. I remember being, but I remember Eden, and I just thought like if I just looked like Eden and I had that long, straight, silky hair, and then she would lay on that bed, and I think she was like assaulted, and Cruz was always out trying to, her Latin cop husband was always trying to go out and find her attacker. So I remember thinking as a girl, oh, so it's sexy to be attacked. So then I was like, can a bitch get assaulted around here? And don't fucking write me mean comments about that shit, because that's how they were selling it to me.
They were selling it to you. Were a damsel. You were a damsel in distress.
Yes,
always in distress.
I thought that it was sexy to be attacked. I'm like, obviously, if you're really hot, that's when they attack you.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought like, oh, it's hot to be sort of like freshly sexually assaulted, like on Santa Barbara. So when my brother's like drunk friend tried to hit on me once, this is so embarrassing. He came home like in the middle of the night and kind of came into the room sort of looking for me or whatever. And I was like, hey. And then we just kind of made out for a minute. And then I stopped and tried to weep because I thought that's what Eden would have done. And he would think it was hot. And he was just kind of disgusted and sort of fumbled out of the room. And I was like, why didn't that work? I kind of like wept for a minute. Like I thought he was going to lift my chin up and be like, what happened to you? He didn't give a shit. He was just some fucking drunk smear of a man who didn't even remember us making out, I'm sure. But yeah, I thought, oh, I'll like invent some sort of inner tragedy that he'll be intrigued by.
Oh my God.
But he had no follow-up questions and briskly left the room. But I always felt like when I watched that show, I was like, that's what you need. You need to get assaulted, and then you're going to get some cop to look for your assaulter. And that I thought somehow was, appealing. Have a far off, distant kind of tragedy. And a man will try to peel the layers back. But here's the thing. The men in my life, they don't ask follow-up questions. I could go missing for weeks before my husband would look for me. I believe he loves me, but he's not the guy that's like, what happened in your earlier year? No.
Yeah.
I'm just there making that dumb face.
Now, do you think well, clearly you're happily married, so maybe you don't really need that. That's so interesting that you got that perception from, obviously it's probably from other places in Santa Barbara. I was just rolling through the Rolodex of places I got that same perception. Santa Barbara being one of them. Days of Our Lives was another one.
Yes. Oh my God, those two blondes.
Marlena kept having to get saved that constantly.
Yes.
And Young and the Restless was the same kind of theme, is that Victor Kiriakis was after Nikki, and Nikki was a stripper, and he saved the stripper, and then he fell in love with someone younger.
They were always saving us.
Yes, always saving them.
And also it seemed very relaxing, because not only after they'd sold assault as being very relaxing, because after the assault, they would just kind of be laying on this bed and the men would visit them. I'm sorry, but Cruz was also always visiting her on her rape bed
on stage.
He was always visiting her on her rape bed, and she was always a little dewy and just like, I was like, first of all, I would never look like that if I was laying in bed. I would look like a disgusting skank, and I would have fucking cake on me and shit. Yeah. When I lay in bed in a hotel room, I'm just like lowering cake into my face. I'm disgusting. I'm just pigging and eating macaroni and cheese with like a coffee filter. But she would be just laying on this bed like all pristine with her long fucking blonde shiny hair that I wanted so bad. And he would just kind of visit her and just sort of like keep re-washclothing her after a rape or whatever. And I thought that's what it was.
Re-washclothing her after a rape. And you remember who played her sister?
Who did play her sister? She was hot too. Wait. Don't tell me. Robin?
Yes.
Right.
And her name was Kelly.
And her name was Kelly, and I wanted to be Kelly too.
Oh.
Eden I would wanted to be the most, but Kelly was very hot. And then she went into that other, and she also had a very perfect spotless look. And I had the kind of acne that looked like it needed to be operated on. Like I looked like I needed an operation for my acne. So whenever I'd see those just clear skinned girls, I was just like, fuck. I wanted to have the kind of skin where you could go out on a hike for a date. Like that would be my worst nightmare, because I just turn red.
Oh my God.
Like my skin doesn't like weather temperatures very well.
No.
Yeah.
Why is that, you think?
I have really bad rosacea. I'm not trying to turn anybody on at home here. I know you guys are really bricking up right now, but cool your semis. I'm teeming with rosacea. But yeah, I just get red very easily. So I'm always like I feel like they have the kind of hot where you could just pull your hair back into some sort of lazy pony.
Yes.
You know, and go to Runyon Canyon or whatever people do out here.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm a New Yorker. I want to be inside in a hotel with like fucking air conditioning.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't have the skin for those dates. Could you do an outside date? Are you outdoorsy?
Yeah, I'm really out. I'm from Georgia.
Yeah.
I'm from rural Georgia. So yeah, I'm pretty outdoorsy. Well, I'll tell you this. I know what you're talking about. I used to be that girl that could throw their hair in a ponytail and look hot. And then menopause came and just dropped a big dick all over me. And I'm like, my hair's too thin. I can't keep it long enough to put it in a ponytail because it's thinning and it's getting really frizzy. It doesn't look thin at all to me. And then I have to wear makeup every day or I look like the crypt keeper. And then jowls are showing up all of a sudden. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? I used to be this cute thing where I could go, ponytail, let's go.
You are still cute and very adorable.
Well, it's a shift. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm at that age right now where everybody's just kind of like, you can only tape it together for so long. That's the age I'm at right now where, the cracks are definitely showing. Yeah. People
I don't know. I think you're the perfect age to be talking about shit as a comic. I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
I think you are because I think you have to live some significant amount of life to have the kind of depth of person to talk in such a way as you do, right? Because you talk about your husband and the families and the way you do it shows me that you know who you are. Mm-hmm. You know who you are in your marriage. You know who your husband is. You really know who you are. That comes through for me is that you know who you are. And I think when we're younger, not just women, but men also, when we're younger, we just don't really know who we are.
No, we don't. It's a good way to put it. And like, because it's very simple. You just haven't figured it all out yet or how to be yourself. It's not even like, it's just, it's a tricky thing. I felt like for a long time, I really was like, if I get it right, I can be, Robin Wright Penn. And then one day you're just like, you're not, bitch. Your name's Rachel Feinstein. You're never going to be Robin Wright Penn. But it took me a while. Yeah, I wanted to be blonde and I wanted a certain kind of look that I thought would fix things. If I had a certain kind of hair, just that dumb girl shit. Like, did you ever read Sweet Valley High when you were growing up? Okay, so there was this like series called Sweet Valley High, and it was about these two blonde sisters. And in the beginning, they would describe them, and it'd be like Jessica Wakefield with her sun-kissed California blonde hair was a perfect 5'6", 120 pound. Like how fucking evil that was like in the first paragraph of every book. And I clocked that. I was like, so if I'm just 5'6" and a sweet 120, and I have sun-kissed blonde hair, and their dad, Ned Wakefield, would come home from the office and, he wasn't a dad like mine. Like he smelled reasonable. He didn't have a theory that you don't have to wash denim, which is what Howie Feinstein said. So he just always reeks. Yeah, I always had just kind of my dad would always stretch everywhere in public. And I was like, Ned Wakefield would never stretch like that.
Stretch? What do you mean? Was he athletic?
No, he was on he would do a lot of public stretching, but he wouldn't actually work out. He was kind of on it was like he was on a never ending search to be as limber as possible for no activity whatsoever. And people would see my dad stretching and I'd be violently embarrassed. I mean, now I think it's funny because I don't give a shit. I'm a comic now, but people would be like, oh yeah, I saw your dad stretching off a car outside of giant grocery store. And I'm like, yeah, I know. He stretches a lot. I don't know how he's always stretching.
Why? Did he have back pain or something? I mean, what was the reason? He had to have a reason.
He acted like he was going to work out and that he was always stretching and he wore those striped athletic socks. But we found out later that when he would go to the Y to work out, that he wasn't really doing any working out. He would just sort of lean on the treadmill and talk to some of my brother's friends and kind of chat with them about where they might go to college. But he didn't work out at all. Just apparently, he was doing a lot of feeding in the lobby at the Y.
Oh, my God.
And then he would just go sort of lean on equipment.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so he didn't actually work out, but he would stretch fucking everywhere. One of my brother's friends caught my dad stretching off the side of a bed doing some kind of naked running stretch in my parents' room. And the door was just wide open. He's still haunted by seeing Howie Feinstein doing some kind of ass stretch off his bed.
That's hysterical.
It's traumatizing. Did you have normal parents that didn't humiliate you?
Oh, is that a joke?
I don't know.
No, I did not have normal parents. I had my dad's a pretty regular guy. He's a mechanic, real blue collar guy.
Hot.
He was hot, actually. He was.
I realized as I said that, I was like, that wasn't appropriate.
No, he looked kind of like Elvis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I love that.
Very handsome guy. He's still really handsome. Obviously, he's 76, but he's still a really handsome guy. And then my mom was absolutely beautiful. She was actually, after my parents' divorce, was a model in Atlanta for about 9 years. Really, really successful model. She was really pretty. I actually look like my dad. I don't look like my mom.
And what were they like? Like, were they funny? Were they embarrass you? What was their vibe with each other?
They divorced when I was 7.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a good relationship with my mom. I actually have never had a good relationship with my mom ever. I believe, she's not been diagnosed, but I believe she has some kind of personality disorder.
I'm sure.
My dad is just grounded, regular, salt of the earth, never left our hometown of like 1,800 people. Fun, funny. I never was interested in dating a comic or never went to the comedy club or anything, but my dad always watched comedy. So, and I only saw my dad every other weekend and from Memorial Day to Labor Day. That's when I lived with my dad because we were about an hour away. So, with my mom. So, I just remember we never missed Saturday Night Live ever.
Really?
Never missed Saturday Night Live. George Carlin, Gallagher. My dad loved Gallagher. I mean, loved it. And always watching Sanford and Son, All in the Family, The Jeffersons, Good Times. Like,
did you watch Roseanne?
I did watch Roseanne. I was a little older when Roseanne was out. So all of that Norman Lear comedy, is so rich and so good. And all my dad ever watched was comedy. He never watched like, the Rockford Files.
And he was funny.
He was always very funny. He always had a joke.
Was he extrovert? Was he kind of like the life of the party, like Bert?
He was when I was younger. He is not as much anymore as he's aged. He's kind of calmed down. But after my parents divorced, my dad lived with 2 other bachelors. So when I would go see him, it was me and 3 dads.
That's kind of cute.
It was really cute. And one of the other dads had a son that was 2 years younger than me. We're both only children. So there was like the weekend with the kids and then the bachelor pad and then the weekend with the kids and then the bachelor pad. And then sometimes they would like overlap. Yeah. And it was bananas.
And it would be like, would it be parties? Were they fun? And, yeah. And were they good to you? The other guys that he lived with, were they like uncles?
Yeah.
That's kind of a fun situation to be raised in.
Wife the Party is sponsored by Acre Gold. You know how having a family and an incredible husband is invaluable and continues to amaze over time? It's kind of similar to gold, which is why we've partnered with a company called Acre Gold. Financial experts and big banks agree the value of gold is climbing new heights in 2025 and beyond. So, how do you get in? Buying gold can feel complicated and expensive, but Acre Gold subscriptions make it easy and affordable. With subscriptions from $30 to $250 per month, Acre Gold makes gold ownership a reality for every budget. How does it work? Make automatic monthly payments into your stash until you reach the price of an Acre Gold bar. Once you pay for your bar, Acre Gold discreetly ships it to your door. Markets go up and down, but gold has stood the test of time. It's real, it's solid, and now it's easier than ever to own. Secure your wealth and take control of your future. Start today with acregold.com.
So you were used to a party and the bustling kind of like feeling of having people around.
Yeah.
You strike me as more introverted, but you were, look at me fucking like I'm Diane Sawyer over here, really turning the tables. But you strike me as introverted, but that you're comfortable, but when there's things are really social too. Is that true? Like you seem like,
that's exactly
do you think
right.
That's part of why?
Part of why?
Look at me therapizing. Fuck.
Part of why
do you think that's part of why
I work with Bert?
You work with Bert and you're comfortable with a big party around you, but also kind of have a good center? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think so because my dad was all about a good time. If there wasn't a party, we're going to the lake. If we're not going to the lake, we're going camping. If we're not going camping, we're riding dune buggies. If we're not doing dune buggies,
so he liked activities.
Always doing something. We never, ever just sat around.
Yeah.
And my dad was just, he was just always happy. He was never unhappy with me. Maybe he was on the 10 days or 12 days.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
No.
So you were like the apple of his eye. That's how my daughter is with my husband. Yeah.
I still am.
Yeah. Like everything I asked Pete to do, I'd be like, when you get off work from the firehouse, can you not just like sit on your ass and play, like have he would just sit there and smoke sticks with the guys. And I'm like, can you just come home? Never. He would just hang out, play fucking 4 games of chess and talk about how they never land on the moon or whatever the fuck he does there, and then come home. And now straight home. Like everything that Frank, like once I had a daughter, it was like, yeah, all that shit, my list for him. Like, I'm like, no, he doesn't. Yeah. But I do feel like I watch them and I'm like, yeah, it seems very similar to that. Like where she could just be herself.
Yes.
She doesn't have to be, my mother-in-law said this and I'm not, crazy about the fact that she was right about a lot of shit she told me. But, Maria, but she was like, Peter needs a girl. She's like, Peter needs a girl to soften his heart. If he has a boy, he will push him too much. He is a competitive. He acts like he's so laid back, but he's pushing. If he has a boy, he will push. But a girl, she can play soccer, she can dance, doesn't matter. And I'm like, she was right. He did need a girl.
Yep.
Yeah, because he is naturally competitive, but in a very affable kind of package.
Yep.
So you don't always see it.
Right.
And I think if he had a son, it would have been a trickier thing for him. Not to kind of, but I get with my daughter, like she could do whatever. They just wrestle all day and they're always putting each other in like half Nelsons and stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. But it's a cool thing to see.
It is amazing. I think if we had had a son, Bert and I would have divorced.
You think the same thing? Interesting.
There's no way I could have tolerated
what do you think?
Because he would have been, so we have a nephew now. His sister has a boy. Mm-hmm. And when that boy comes over, it's literally like girls stink. All girls stink. You guys stink. And I'm like, I couldn't live that all day, every day. That couldn't be my house.
So he just like gets into guy only activities and stuff. That's so interesting.
He turns into the toxic frat boy. Like he's just frat boy. Like at home, he's still frat boy. And I'm cool with frat boy. Love frat boy energy.
Sure.
Love it. But the toxic girls suck. You don't know what you're doing. Frat boy is what happens when that little boy shows up. And I go, that would have not have been in my household because that would have affected the daughter negatively and that wouldn't have flown.
And that wouldn't have flown with you because you're a protective mama bear.
Of the daughter,
yes, of
right?
course.
There's no way.
To be.
If we'd had he and I would have had a lot of drama.
That's so interesting that you had like this similar thing. Yeah, because I think she was right. Yeah, he needed to have a girl. It softens him in a lot of different ways. Yeah, and it makes him more open. I feel like he's matured more. And all the things that my husband and I would come from like vastly opposite backgrounds, but everything that I've tried to get him to see or get him to understand, we just stopped talking about certain things after a while. But I feel like having a daughter, he sees the world a little differently. And many of the ways, and it wasn't my perfect word choice or one of my dumb monologues. It was just like having a girl.
Yes. That was it. So how are your backgrounds drastically different?
Well, my mom is like, I joke about this a lot in the special, but my parents are like, my mom's like aggressively liberal and I joke about on stage that she probably would have preferred if I married like a Nigerian lesbian or something. But my parents, they're like, my mom's a social worker. She sees the outside world as kind of like, people, everybody needs you more than, I'm trying to find a better way to word this. She is endlessly compassionate, but to her own detriment. Mm-hmm. So they had like a old red Datsun that we would call the Feinstein barfmobile because we would all puke in it. Again, not trying to turn anyone on at home. If you're bricked up right now, settle down. But my mom probably bought that Datsun like 10 times from the mechanic. And she'd be like, Salvatore, has an autistic son. I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with the fucking Datsun? We need a new car, bitch.
Right?
Like, it's not okay.
Yes.
The Datsun, all the car doors broke. And except for even the back door, but it would open, but it couldn't close because the spring stopped working. So then they got a fucking stick, like a wooden stick. Another reason my dad would humiliate me. Open the hood and put it there, and then we would have to climb out of the car that way. And my parents would just keep taking it back to this mechanic who was obviously just raping them financially. But she was just like, well, remember his story. But she was, and I talk about this also on stage now, but she was like so liberal, she was racist because it was like she would see anybody that wasn't white she would kind of do a horror crawl towards them trying to get to the bottom of their trauma and always assume they were sort of traumatized and needed her to help.
She was
somehow.
So far left, she was right.
Yes. And his family is very much the opposite. And they're like, they see the outside world as like this daunting force that you know, like to which like good china is your best armor against. You know what I mean? So his family is very opposite. And so, but I think it's good for me. You know, I think it's good. It's balance. We balance each other out a little bit, you know?
Well, your brain works at such a pace that I think to find something that was familiar to you, super familiar, you would have been bored.
You're right, actually. It's such a good insight. Yeah.
Yeah, you would have been bored. I would have been bored if I'd married an easy person. There's no way I would have married an easy person. My dad told me that when I was 20 years old.
Really? He knew that about you?
Oh, yeah. He goes, you're not marrying a regular person. You'll never make it. You'll be out the door.
Because you would be bored. You wouldn't be, you need something to stimulate you.
Yep.
How did you guys meet each other?
We met bowling.
It's pretty cute.
In LA. Yeah, we had a bunch of couples invited all their single friends bowling.
Mm-hmm.
So we were both on the single
team. It's a really adorable way to meet. Were they kind of trying to set you up or no?
Not the two of us specifically. Christine, who works here, who booked you here, who organized it. I was friends with Christine before I knew Bert, and she was friends with Bert. Mm-hmm. So she knew both of us without us knowing each other. Mm-hmm. And she one time recently said, I was like, what did you think when we hooked up? And she said something like, what the fuck? No. What is happening? But it's like, but it just worked. I don't, it just worked.
As everybody said about me too. Yeah. They were like, what? Yeah.
Yes. On
paper.
Did you
feel it right away?
Sort of.
He did though, right?
Oh, I think before. Yeah. He met me. We met twice before I remember meeting him, before we went bowling. I have no memory of the two times before. And from what he said to me, the first time he met me, he was like, who is that?
That's so cute.
Who is that? And I have no memory of those two.
Does he remember like your outfits or like your exchanges or anything?
He remembers his outfit.
That's so cute.
He doesn't remember mine. But no, I think pretty shortly after, I was sort of dating someone else for like 3 weeks for nothing. Not a relationship, but I've had like consistent dates with somebody for like 3 weeks who was a really nice guy. He was a lawyer. He was from Texas. He was a horse guy.
But he would have bored you
on paper. He was probably a fit for me on paper.
Right.
But he was the nicest guy. Such a nice guy. After about 2 weeks of seeing Bert, I was like, oh, you know what? I think I've been dating the wrong people. And I didn't even remember what my dad had said to me when I was 20 until I was with Bert for a while going, oh, this is what my dad was talking about. Okay. Yeah. This is what my dad was talking about. Like that lawyer the guy was dating before.
It was too predictable.
It was just too predictable. He was too safe. And I mean like, because of how I grew up, I didn't feel safe a lot. Mm-hmm. So feeling safe is almost unsafe. Does that make sense?
Like, it makes a lot of sense.
I feel comfortable in a little bit of unpredictability. And a little bit like, wait, what's going on with your mood today?
Yes. Oh my God. I so relate to that so much.
You do?
Yeah. For a lot of reasons. And also I feel like when I feel like in order to kind of keep my attention, I usually have joined worlds that are total opposite of mine and always kind of felt like I was responsible for everything happening, in my family dynamic and stuff. So I grew up with that feeling. So I definitely relate to that feeling of like, he's off, so what did I do? Yeah, I'm always watching, emotionally monitoring, and I'm like learning to undo that stuff. I mean, I'm in Al-Anon, so I'm like, I'm learning to like not think that I'm responsible for everything. But I moved to New York with this guy in his band called Dick Sister, and
good name.
I was the Yoko Ono to Dick Sister, so that got me to New York. And then when Dick Sister dumped me, I was on a Greyhound bus and I met this Bengali lady who I was weeping about Dick Sister, and she invited me to move in with her and her family. And then I just joined a Bengali family in like Woodhaven, Queens. So I did the same thing. I would just join worlds that were very unpredictable but constantly stimulating me, and would be very attracted to people with very kind of like extreme personalities, more risk taker than I am, because even though I'm a comedian, I'm not like a traditional like risk taker. I'm kind of like prude and yeah.
Yes.
And so my husband is like, yeah, he runs into active flame. Yeah. So I'm attracted to that near me because it feels a little bit nerve-wracking in a way that keeps me kind of awake. Yeah.
I get it. You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
As they say.
Yeah. So I'm definitely attracted to the same kind of, that same kind of like, you don't know what the fuck today is going to be energy. Yeah. And I remember one time he was working and I was at the Comedy Cellar and I was like, oh, I'll bring the guys wings by the firehouse after I leave. And I went uptown to the firehouse that I thought he was supposed to be at that night because they jump around to different firehouses. And so I didn't check. I have that Find My iPhone thing because that way if he's in a, he calls it a good job. If he's at a fire or whatever, I can see where he's at. So I went to the firehouse. He wasn't there. They told me that he had been moved downtown. And I went downtown and figured out that I was following the thing. Then I looked at my phone and I saw that he was like right by the Trade Center. And I like freaked out and went down there. I was crying. I was still holding the wings, by the way. And then it turned out that they were doing drills in the middle of the night at the World Trade Center. So I got to the Trade Center. It was all like cops and firefighters and everything. And I remember like thinking like, oh, something happened to him. And it was like this wall of all these cops and but they didn't tell you about the drills that they do. They're just like practicing in case something could happen. Mm-hmm. And so when I went down there and I didn't see him, I freaked out. I was like sobbing. And then he came out, by the way, couldn't have given a shit about the whole thing. I was like, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, it was a fucking drill. He's like, you believe they woke me up at 3 a.m. for this shit? And he was complaining because he was like, and these fucking actors out there, like Robert fucking De Niro, dragging his feet in the subway system. I'm like, dude, you're not going to get a fucking Oscar for this. Let's go. So he was pissed because like the actors were being too actory inside this drill. Then we leave. I remember we left there and it was one of the most fun nights of our life. We went to some bar and got trashed. But I remember that night feeling like so alive and like, oh, this was so crazy and fun. And when I look back, I'm like, oh, you were traumatized that night. But it was so exciting at the same time.
Right.
You know? Like, I'm like, you need that much level of unpredictability and insanity, to kind of, but it's, it's also, I do think, just a very simple thing that people with very opposite personalities do tend to, it's a fun thing. But yeah, I find relationships like and why people meet and how people meet like endlessly interesting to me. Like I ask every Uber driver, I'm like, how do you meet your wife? My husband's always like, you don't really want to know. I'm like, no, I do. Yeah. I love to hear how people meet, Yeah.
I think it's fascinating too because I think my parents have 7 divorces between the two of them. And so I didn't have a good like, hey, this is how fun this can be. I didn't really experience that. I had fun with my dad and had
but you didn't see a playful, happy couple in the house.
No. And none of my aunts and uncles were playful, happy. Mm-hmm. We're best friends, Yeah. They're still married, but and they're happy, but it's definitely not what I created in my life.
No, you created much more warm, fun. Yeah. I always wanted that. I remember I had parents' friends and that like he would just like spank her ass and they would just kind of like tease each other. And I was like, I always saw examples of either mounting kind of resentment or just like active fights, like crazy screaming. And I never saw that in between, just kind of silly and giving each other shit and like razzing each other. And I was like, I remember seeing them and being like, oh, I want a marriage like that. Yeah, where you fuck around with each other and it's silly.
Yes, I had a best friend whose parents were like that too.
Yeah, right. It was fun to see as a kid. It was like exciting. We were like, ooh, they're like adults, but they're flirting. Like I thought only like single people flirt,
Yeah, it was really fun to see that.
Yeah. Was your dad excited when you first met Bert? Was he like into the relationship right away? Is he protective or?
Yeah, he's really protective. I was 32 when I met Bert. So clearly I'd had boyfriends that I'd brought around my dad. Mm-hmm. And Bert was definitely different. Bert was, the thing about growing up in the really rural South is people have a lot of preconceived notions about what they're going to walk into when you walk into a really small town in the deep South. Mm-hmm. And I was always kind of concerned about, how people would perceive my family. My grandparents had their own farm. Everything we ate, they grew. It was a cattle farm, and they had like a vegetable farm and fruit orchards, and they ate things that they don't really serve in restaurants. And, you know,
It's impressive. I mean, I guess it wasn't in fashion probably when you met Bert, but like now it's like that's what everybody in California is trying to be. It's like be on a farm and work on a farm. It's fucking cool.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I'm sure at the time it was different.
No, at the time it was different, especially with dating, you know, people from LA and people from Atlanta and stuff. They're like, wow, you eat black-eyed peas every day? Yeah, every day, my entire life. Black-eyed peas and cornbread every single day. If she made hamburgers, there was also black-eyed peas and cornbread. If she made spaghetti, there was also black-eyed peas and cornbread. It's just kind of...
It sounds soothing to me.
I loved it.
Do you make that stuff too?
I made I had black-eyed peas and cornbread for lunch today.
Yeah, that sounds so pleasing and soothing. Yeah.
So he was the first person that I brought that just was at complete ease and kind of understood the culture because he grew up in Florida.
Yeah.
And he grew up playing baseball with a lot of good old boys, like good old boys from my hometown. Bert never wore a shirt. That's my entire childhood.
Yeah.
And so Bert fit in really well. My family is very orderly, like,
I see.
and tidy and clean.
Yeah.
And structured and like open the closet and everything's like
in its place.
Short sleeve pullover, organized by color. You know, short sleeve button down, organized by color.
Yeah.
Bert is like Pigpen from the Peanuts.
Yeah.
He's like a walking chaos.
Yes.
And that was probably the hardest thing for my dad to wrap his head around.
Yeah, my mother-in-law too. Yeah, she's just like, she doesn't understand it. Yeah.
You know, my dad is like, how do you live with this like human tornado? Like, I don't understand how you do it. And so when we would go and stay at our family lake house, Bert doesn't change who he is. He just walks in the front door and like dumps his literal junk drawer out from the front door to the back, and his shit is just everywhere. And my whole family's like, what is going on? Could just put it in this one spot, and he cannot do it.
Does he know does he know or care that they are like annoyed or whatever?
Yeah, he knows.
But he doesn't care, but that's better to not care. You didn't care that much?
He becomes defiant about it, where he goes, oh, so you're trying to change who I am? So you're asking me to not be myself to be here.
Yeah.
Watch me double down on myself. And then I'm like, this is so fun for me.
I know, and then you're right in the middle.
The best. I love having my aunts leer at me across the room because my husband is actually Pigpen in their house. That you go, yeah, I'm not changing who I am. As the worst house guest ever.
I try so hard, but I still fuck up because I'm so ADD. But I like try with his family, and they're way ordered. Like his mother, like, you know, she's like. She grew up like when she was 5, she knew how to fold a fitted sheet, you know?
Yeah.
And so she just looks at me like this pig. But I try like when I'm at their house.
Of course.
But they can see like that I'm, you know, like they just see the lie beneath it. I don't know which is better, but the defiance or just trying and repeatedly failing. But yeah, I definitely see that with his family too. They just look at me like, why can't you get it together? Yeah, I just spray shit everywhere. I don't want to be like that either. Like I'm trying not to do that, but I'm a sprayer. I hurl and spray.
I have a book here.
Really?
It's called How to Keep House While Drowning. Okay, it's a book written by a psychologist who has ADHD about how she struggles with those exact feelings.
Yeah.
And that book helped me understand Bert and our daughter Isla more than any book I think I've ever read about how they logistically function in a household.
Yeah.
Because I go, why do you put the can on top of the cabinet where just under the cabinet is the trash?
Yeah.
Just put it in the freaking trash.
Yeah.
One more step and we're all done.
That's exactly what I do. I have like this holding station.
Yes.
But I don't ever close. My friend told me she's much more orderly like you, my best friend. She's like very, very type A. And she's like, you know, she's just like, all your problems would be fixed if you would just close. I now understand your mind just doesn't do this as easily as mine does. She just like close. There's not like a stop off place for your shirt.
Yeah.
She's like, I see the intent. You're like, oh, I want to put it away. But instead I'm going to put it on a hanger and just kind of
leave it
over here.
Yes.
She's like, there's no holding stations.
No.
She's like, your mind doesn't, you think you can do that, but you have to close the exchange.
Yes.
Like she's like, I'll see you put things away, but then you won't zip the wallet.
Yes.
You know, she's like, you'll put things in it. So you're trying, but you keep thinking that you're going to have these kind of like, these like timeouts in the middle of whatever you're attempting to do. And I think that is it's a very ADD thing because I do try and I'm always trying. Like my friends always like, your stories are really frantic because I'm right now trying to like frantically decorate my house because he bought this house with Bitcoin and it's like a 3,300 square foot house. And I have to fucking, I don't know how to decorate it. It's in Queens.
Okay.
We live in this big Bitcoin house, but like now we like need wallpaper and shit. And I don't really know how to hang curtains, but I'll just like get lost in wallpaper patterns and stuff. So I'm always on stories like, well, are curtains supposed to kiss the floor or what's this? And
yes,
like what kind of couch am I? I don't know anything about decorating. And she's like, it's really frantic. And I'm like, because I'm trying, because I'll get the wallpaper and then it'll just sit there.
Yes. Yes. I say to Bert and Isla all the time, you're good at the beginning and the middle. It's the end where it falls apart.
Yeah, it's the end.
It's the end. So if you could, for your own happiness, get to the end. But this lady in this book is like, maybe our end looks different than yours. So maybe instead of like, I have a place for everything in its place. How boring is that? But I have that.
No, I need to be with people like that.
Like I'm touch something one time.
Yeah.
If you pick the can up to throw it away, throw it away. Why would you put it down and then pick it back up to throw it away? That doesn't make sense. So open the drawer, throw it away, and you're done. This cycle's complete. You have beginning, middle, and end. But her theory is maybe the end is different. Maybe it does sit on the countertop and then you have to, this is where the ADD mind has to kind of not meet halfway, but come a little toward the organized and say, okay, at 10 p.m. every day, I'm spending 5 minutes going from the middle to the end. Just 5 minutes, and whatever I get
that
in the
is
end
a very good goal for me. I need to do things in 5 minute increments, like because I can try to do that. Because my husband always comes home and he wants to know the story behind why I did things around the house. So he's always like, why would you put this over here instead of put it over here? He's like, why would you put your vitamins on the couch near the fucking like the living room couch? It's like you put on the coffee table. Why you don't even eat breakfast there? And I'm like, you're assuming that my hands know what I'm doing, that they're attached to my body. I'm like, I don't know where my hands did during the day. They could be at a fucking brothel. That's what it feels like to have ADD. Like it's like you think that I had a story behind it that I was like, oh, I know where I'll put my vitamins.
You don't know what my hands did during the day.
Yeah.
Please write stuff about this too. Please. Because you know how many adults have ADD and their spouses are like, what the fuck?
Every day he's making me walk around because he's a chief. He's fucking OCD order. Like his nightstand looks like a gay serial killer's nightstand. My nightstand looks like I was freshly murdered.
Yes.
Like I was just killed.
That's so funny. Bert has done so many posts about his nightstand versus my nightstand. Yes. His nightstand looks like a garbage truck backed up and dumped. And mine is like perfect. I have a little tray with all my little products. All my little And we had this fight the other day because he has this Whoop, this like fitness tracker thing. And it has a battery that you slide on top of it. So you don't like take it off and plug it in. You wear the battery. It's a little bitty, like, I don't know, about as big as a $50.
Mm-hmm.
And they are everywhere in my house. They're in the bathroom. They're on the nightstand. They're next to his recliner. They're in the kitchen. And I'm like, you know what? If you just put them in the bowl, you can always find them. And then you can charge them and then just stack them up in the bowl. And he goes, that's how your brain works. You look in one place for everything. I look everywhere for everything. I need it wherever I am.
That's probably why we find material in all these weird places too.
It is. It's the same thing. He looks
you're right.
everywhere where I go, no, it's in the bowl. And if it's not in the bowl, I don't know where it is. And he goes, oh, it could be in these 18 different places. Now, don't ask me to find them. I'm going to need LeeAnn to look for them because while I'm looking for them, I'll also go, oh, look, a bumblebee and be off on that,
Yeah.
He doesn't even flush the toilet. He gets off the toilet and walks away. And I go, dude, what are you doing? And he goes, oh, I'm already on to the next thing. And I'm like, turn your ass around and push the handle before you move on to the next thing. Like biggest mistake I made was not putting like automatic flushing toilets in our house.
Yeah.
Because he never flushes
the toilet. That's wild.
My brain's already at the next thing. And I'm like, that's not real.
Yeah.
People flush the toilet.
Yeah, Pete does that too, kind of. When he'll take a piss, but he doesn't, usually just for pissing, but he leaves the seat up all the time. And I don't want to be that hacky wife. That's like one thing that I'm just like, it's just too hacky that you do that. But it's for the firehouse. Even though he's extremely orderly, he will never like close a toilet seat. Yeah. But he also doesn't care about, I don't know if your relationship is like this either, but he also doesn't have he doesn't care about germs at all. Like he doesn't could give a flying fuck about anything like that. Yeah. So like I'm not really a germ phobic person. Like I'll sip off, like people's drinks and stuff like that. But my husband's like extreme where I'm just like, do you want to wash your hands right now? Like he's very like he says you don't have to wash your hands post pissing. That's what he says. Yeah. I'm like, maybe at the firehouse, but wash your hands, you wretch.
Yeah. I think Bert last washed his hands in maybe 1992. I don't think so. I mean, he'll have hot sauce on his hand from Tuesday and rub his eyes and go, oh, my eyes. And I'm like, dude, he doesn't even shower. He showers in the pool. He gets in the pool with a pump soap and soaps up and then rinses in the pool.
That's hysterical.
I'm like, you're now covered in chlorine. Like you're covered in chlorine. If you come up with
when I heard that, I was like, that struck me as kind of a fun idea, but it didn't even occur to me, the chlorine. Yeah.
Yeah, you're covered in chlorine. You're supposed to bathe after the pool to get the chlorine off your body.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you come up with some kind of cancer, we're going to know why.
Who's more neurotic, like in terms of do you worry about like, what are your, like, you don't seem like you have much anxiety.
I don't have any anxiety. Yeah. Not really.
So you don't have like you don't worry about like death or disease or I don't either, but I do worry if people are mad at me. Like I don't never think about dying. I just think people are mad at me. I care much more about whether somebody's pissed off at me than cancer.
How interesting. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I always I'm worried of people I think when I was growing up, I was part of this clique of girls in 7th and 8th grade, and they were always mad at me. You know what I mean? And I was just always nervous about this one girl who was kind of the head and where I stood with her. So I've sort of repeated those dynamics in my life and always worried if this friend's mad at me or if this person's annoyed with me and personalizing things that aren't personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I call her my aunt, but she her name's Lois, but she's the person that I'm staying with, and I refer to her as my aunt. But she's also she helps me with every part of my life. But it's just for family members of alcoholics, and so she comes over and kind of screams at me and tells me that it's not about me all the time. She's completely the opposite. She's like, he's not thinking about you. Yeah. They're not fucking thinking about you. Yeah, right. Isn't that the scarier fucking thing, Rachel? You're not coming across their goddamn minds. Here's what you need to worry about. This is Lois this morning, but I love it. She's like, what color are your shoes? I'm like, black. Okay, that's what we know today. We don't know what's in anybody else's fucking mind. You think I think about that shit? No. She's a real estate agent. She's like, I think about houses and closing deals, and that's fucking it.
That's so funny.
Yeah, she's like, this is all crazy, and you're making shit up.
That's Stop so funny.
It. Yeah, but she's right. She kind of snaps me back into my own body. Right. She's like, they're not fucking thinking about you. Yeah. They don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Stop it. But it's all love behind it. And I like people like that. Yeah. So she kind of snaps me back into my own, what I'm actually responsible for. But I definitely grew up in that circle where I was always trying to figure out where I stood in this circle of girls that were, kind of intense and a little dramatic. And worrying if one, if I was going to be invited to this thing or if I was in that night or whatever. That's been very hard for me.
Yeah, it's a tough dynamic.
Yeah, and our industry re-mimics that.
Oh, 100% does.
So I feel like I finally kind of got it that it's all nonsense a few years ago.
That's good. Because it is. I mean, someone told me once, how much do you think about yourself? Mm-hmm. Quite a lot. Mm-hmm. So then how much do you think someone else is thinking about you? If you think about yourself this much, they're probably thinking about themselves as much as you're thinking about yourself.
Yes.
So really not thinking about other people and the way that you think they are, because really you're relating it to you.
Yeah.
It's all back to you thinking about you.
Yeah.
But it's hard to figure out. But I think also comics, I think every comic I know is a really sensitive person.
Yeah, we are. We are sensitive.
Very sensitive. And that's what makes you a really good comic. So what comes with that is some thoughts like that, where you think, well, so-and-so hates me, which is based in non-reality. Mm-hmm. But a lot of what you're talking about on stage is also reality, non-reality, Yes. Yes.
And I think also I grew up with my dad was very depressed, and now he's doing much better. But he was really depressed when I was a little kid, and he was in bed a lot. And I just thought I was responsible for the mood in the house. So I was like, I have to get people I have to make sure that everything's better and then he'll be better. But of course, no, I wasn't emotionally responsible for my dad or anybody else in a room, but I still tend to snap into that feeling, you know?
Yeah, it's
and I think
amazing.
growing up with any level of those kind of mental issues in the house, I related with what you said before. Yeah, you kind of do that thing where you're taking everybody's temperature.
Yes, you take everybody's temperature. And you know that those first 20 years of your life, so amazing how much they inform the rest of your entire life.
So true.
It's the first 20 years. And then you look back at it and you can go, wow, I can't believe that one moment, word, conversation, incident is affecting me 40 years later in the way that it is. It's kind of profound. And it would be, one might think, I wish that had never happened, but I don't really agree. I think that your challenge and I mean challenge in the most positive way, is to just turn all those incidences into like a superpower somehow. Superpower is a strong word, but
but I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, my sponsor lady always says to me, she's always like, "You're exactly where you're supposed to be." She always says that, and I believe in God, and she's always like, God has a larger goddamn fucking. She's always cursing. God fucking knows what's happening. Shit. Stop trying to fucking get in this goddamn fucking way. Whatever. I have a very loose, not pushy interpretation of that, but I do feel like, there is a larger purpose, and I think definitely whatever cocktail of rejection and not having my math tutor molest me, I feel like whatever that was, it definitely has a lot to do with why I do stand up, for sure. Yeah, having a very depressed parent in the house, because I also feel like, I think part of stand up is you're sort of holding people hostage and asking them to believe you about something, it's like your final statements to the world. So I feel like I always want people to know that I'm coming from the right place, that I'm not, and I think sometimes in jokes, that's what we're really doing. We rehash somebody to be like, see, I'm not doing anything wrong. Nobody should be mad at me. So I feel like that's kind of what I do again and again, is kind of through different social situations or through stand-up kind of, I'm learning to undo that sense of responsibility for other people in the room. But want to prove to everybody with my big final statement that I was somehow in the right and not responsible for Howie's clinical depression.
Oh, Howie, come on.
Come on, shit.
Part of it, why was he depressed? Was it situational? Was it just
I think it was both. My dad was a civil rights lawyer, and he was very smart, and he was a federal prosecutor, and he prosecuted for many years and then skipped 2 grades in school. So he was a real genius. I was not. I was a terrible student, but he was a great student, and he didn't get anything wrong. And then he decided that because he had 3 kids and they were like growing up in Bethesda, which was becoming kind of affluent around them, that he needed to get his kids into college. And so he took this job with like a private firm. And I remember at that moment thinking, I was like maybe 11, but I was like, Dad's going to get laid off. Like, Dad cannot schmooze clients. Like, my father is like, flicks his own head and stretches naked. I mean, he's like a naked stretcher schmoozing people. I'm like, Howie's not going to know how to schmooze people. Like, he can tell you specifics about a war in Russia that happened like 60 years ago, but he can't like schmooze people. So I remember being nervous. I'm like, Dad's going to get laid off, and just kind of worried about what was going to happen next. And he did, because I mean, he's not a schmoozing kind of guy at all. Yeah, like he'll like tip 18%. I have to add like $5 when we would go out to like Shakey's restaurant.
Right.
He's not a schmoozer. So he dresses like he shops at a used bookstore for his clothes. So I was like, he's going to get laid off. Then he did get laid off. And I think that was the first profound kind of sense of, that's a man's identity. A lot of times their job, especially at that time. And so then he just kind of went to bed for the next few years.
Oh, wow.
So he was just always in bed. So I remember coming home and being like, oh, Dad's upstairs in bed, so then I would have to go. I didn't have to, but I felt at the time like I was responsible for going over and trying to cheer him up and making him laugh. Yeah. So I think I would go find him and then kind of rouse him. And my mom was, a social worker trying to raise 3 kids and over empathizing with a mechanic. So she was always coming home and telling me about like Eduardo's suffering or somebody that she met during her day. And I learned very young to just kind of like over empathize with everybody, and try to fix things. But he's doing better now, and he's on, medication, and he was a blues musician when I was a kid. He stopped playing music. So that's what he would do after his day job. And he would play piano and zydeco accordion and stuff. And now he's out playing his blues again. And yeah, he's in a better place now. But
That's good.
But growing up, yeah, I know that feeling of like growing up where you kind of like don't know where anything stands.
Yeah, that must have been really hard, especially to have someone be depressed. But must have been really confusing.
Yeah, there was a heaviness definitely that I thought I was responsible for. I went to a therapist. I feel like sometimes those people, especially in the middle of a dynamic like that in your home, and both my parents love me very much. It's not to complain about them, but sometimes that one handlebar kind of conversation can make such a big difference of somebody being like, oh, none of this has anything to do with you. So I don't know if you had anybody like that earlier on that kind of explained to you that there wasn't anything wrong with you. But I had like a therapist early, Dr. Castellanos, and I think that they brought me there because of my ADD, and they were trying to figure out what was wrong with me and in school or whatever. And I came into his office and I was just kind of rambling aimlessly like I'm doing right now. And he was like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not responsible for anybody in your home. And it was just a simple couple sentences. But I was like, really? And he's like, no, you're a delight.
Oh.
And then he was like, you're going to grow up and you're going to do something fantastic. Oh. And he kind of explained to me a little bit about ADD and how it doesn't always have to be a negative, and that there's a lot of cool things about the way my mind works. So yeah.
That's cool.
I feel like there's more out there about that now. Did you find that with your daughter? Like there was more ways to kind of like, for lack of a cornier word, like empower her style of learning?
No.
Okay.
To be honest with you, no.
No, it's good to know.
No, I did not find that for her. Not really. Dyslexia in the state of California was only recently recognized as a learning disability. So they did Dyslexia was not identified as a learning disability until my daughter was well into middle school. And an 8-year-old boy went to Sacramento for months lobbying to get it recognized because he was dyslexic and could not get services in his public school. Our daughters went to public school till 8th grade, and I had an amazing educational therapist that evaluated Isla in the first grade because her first grade teacher was like, something's wrong. And I was like, I've been asking since she was 4. I know something's wrong because she's super smart, but she can't do her ABCs. She's like, check please. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so this psychologist was like, well, here's the deal. She's dyslexic, but I can't qualify her for services because it's not recognized as a disability. So I'm just going to have to keep testing her until I find something else that I can say, yep, she needs a lot of services for this other thing.
Yeah.
But she really just is dyslexic. So because of that, there's not as much remediation services in the state of California, or at least where I live. I had a very difficult time finding anything that effectively helped me remediate her dyslexia. Now, one of my closest friends is an educator in Georgia, and they were like, oh, yeah, they identify kids in like 1st, 2nd grade, and then they move them into a program they just deal with dyslexia all day, every day for a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, however long it takes them, and then they put them back in regular class and it's over. Wow. And I'm like, that's not my experience at all. So I had to find this tutor, that tutor, this method, that method. And at the end of the day, I guess as it was explained to me, there's 3 different types of dyslexia. One is pretty easy to remediate. One, you can remediate with like a colored eyeglass so that they don't process.
Eyeglasses?
Eyeglasses.
Interesting.
So like they don't process white paper with black print. So if you put like a blue tint eyeglass or pink or whatever your brain functions with, you can read. It's almost like those decoders you got in a cereal box.
That's so cool. I'm so fascinated by the way they figure, like how did they even figure that out?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, and then the first one is like reversing letters and those 2. And then there's one that Isla has where like if she can't visually see the word, she can't retain it. So like you can't see the word the or of.
Oh, and she has that
with.
kind.
She has that. So she can see horse or she can see, green, but she can't see.
When you say retain it, you mean like remember, or you mean say
like,
it out loud as
like,
you're reading?
She doesn't, Like she used to read A for thee all the time. And I would go like, the one has one letter and one has three.
Yeah.
And one is also a letter in the alphabet. How is this? And the psychologist that we took her to was like, it's the one that we haven't really figured out how to remediate.
Yeah.
Like she's just got to figure out her own workaround. Now, to listen to an audiobook, she's got it. No problem. But
is that how she does her studying now?
Yeah. There's a lot of it's on audio. Not all of it. She's gotten better at reading. Is
college more adaptive or is it still
She's
challenging?
in an art school.
She's in art school. That's cool.
Yeah. Because
so is it more easy does she have a better experience now?
Yes. She's an AB student and has
cool.
never been an AB student. She's made A's and B's, but she was really a BC student.
Yeah.
And those B's were like hard won. So, and it always kind of banged her up. Like she understood the dyslexia. And I was like, fuck it. Just get out of high school. You know, once you get out of high school, you'll figure out your path. Your dad has this same dyslexia. Your grandfather has the same dyslexia. So your aunt has it.
Right. So it's hereditary. It's usually hereditary. It's so interesting. But she felt banged up. You mean like she still kind of had an insecurity about it, of course, because it's hard to grow up like that. Even with all your encouragement and love and stuff, it was still challenging.
Yeah. You want to be regular.
You want to be regular.
As a kid, you want to be like everybody else. You want to finish your test at the same time everybody else does. You don't want your teacher to read questions out loud to you because you have to hear it instead of reading it. You don't want to get an F on a test ever.
No, I still remember my gym teacher, Miss Swisher. She was a real dick, but she used to always be like, because I couldn't get my left for right. I was like the last of that team, and she was like. She just put this big L up like this. And it was a helpful tip, but she was screaming at the top of her lungs. And she'd be like, come on, Feinstein, just put the letter L up. And I just remember the more she screamed that, the less I was ever going to know my left from right. I was just this quaking mess. I was like, I'm never going to know it now, you bitch.
Yes.
But I remember going home and just being like, I don't want to go back to gym again. I can't go back to gym again because she's going to scream that in front of fucking everybody. She's going to scream her system. And, it's like, even if it's a system, I just want to fucking blend in here, bitch, please.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you want to blend. That's what you want to do. It is still when I go back to a school, like when I drop Frankie off, she's in preschool. But even like, as a 4-year-old, I still smell a school and it brings me back to like, that feeling inside of a school. And and by the way, I get in trouble with her teachers because I leave my fucking chargers there. I left like my passport at her preschool interview and like a USB cord. I thought the scolding would stop, but they scold me now. Yeah. And never the dad. It always falls on the mom.
Always, yes. Always your fault.
Yeah. I'm always getting like a little DM from them or something about some kind of infraction or some shit. Yeah. It's funny when they're that age. It's just like there's so much to remember to pack in their backpack. Like my husband's home with her right now. He's probably fucking dressing her like Steve Jobs, but I definitely don't remember her blanket for nap. But when I'm there, I have this list in my head. By the way, I'd be shedding the rest of my things, but I'll remember hers somehow. Yeah. Like I'll probably like leave a thong at an airport, but I'll fucking remember that blanket if I'm home.
That's so funny. So Bert, obviously I was the predominant parent, but he has a sister who's, as a mom, you tend to be the predominant parent. And I watch her and I go, this is how Bert would have been as a mom because they have the same brain. They're both like outside the box thinkers, a little bit ADD, definitely dyslexic. She brought her kids over to our house on Sunday and son had a baseball game. Daughter was going to stay with me and swim. The son is 7, the daughter's 4.
Yeah.
So daughter and I are in the pool and the son's like, well, can I get in the pool after baseball? And she goes, I forgot the bathing suit. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'll get you to baseball game. And then she went and got the bathing suit and then went to his ball game and then came back. And in the meantime, I texted her and I said, Lola's done swimming. We've been in the pool for like 2 hours. Where's her dry clothes? And she went, I forgot the dry clothes. And I'm like, okay. You brought your kids to my house to swim, brought one bathing suit and no dry clothes. What? And
that's like especially wild to not even bring a swimsuit, to come over and swim and not bring a swimsuit. It's amazing.
Well, the daughter came in wearing the swimsuit.
Oh, she came wearing it.
So she showed up wearing it, but no dry clothes. Son came in baseball jersey, no bathing suit. So I was like, this is wild.
That's crazy to not have like, I feel like I'm a little better with kid stuff than I am with my own shit, but that makes me feel a little better. There's always somebody more ADD than me. Like, Yeah. And my husband will go to a play date though. I think also when it's social, I'm more conscious, you know, because I'm more of a people pleaser.
Yeah.
So if it's about my stuff in somebody else's house, I'll be more aware.
Yeah.
We went to my friend's house, one of the first, Michelle Buteau, comedian. So we went over there. It was like my first play date after the pandemic. And she's a close friend, thank God. But my husband went out. When I'm at somebody's house, I'm always trying to leave on the earlier side. My husband went out swimming, and she lives like an ocean is behind her, right? It's like a massive, I think it is part of the ocean. I don't know. I'm too dumb to know, but it's like a lake or an ocean or some shit. So anyway, my husband went out and just went swimming and then just like didn't come back for a while, and I'm like, we got to go now. Yeah. He took out some kind of rowboat, then he would go out the side and go swimming.
Oh my God.
And she's like, I think he went past like the warning sign. Like when he goes swimming, he doesn't just go swimming. He goes swimming to like discover something.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, get the fuck back here.
Yes.
We got to leave this person's house.
That's so funny.
He did that on my honeymoon. We went to Bora Bora and he just like went off. These like French bitches were like on their little, those little tree houses in Bora Bora. They were out there with binoculars like, your husband, I see him, like trying to spot him. I'm like, do you think this is fun for me? Like everybody's trying to figure out if you're goddamn alive.
That's so funny.
But he can't just go swim. He has to just go farther than anyone's gone before, which I relate to nothing less than that.
Nothing like that. No.
I want to fucking lay still and just do some feeding when I'm on vacation. I'm like, he can't sit still because then I'll remember that somebody died on the train tracks one time or something. Yeah. That's why he has to go around to, like the house and just check if I have open seltzers all day and can't be still. And then I'll remember all his trauma from the job. Sometimes I do that with him when he's like, always going off to discover something. Like he'll jump in the fucking ocean and just start swimming. I'm like, were you molested? I just scream that after him when he's trying to discover an island. I'm like, figure it out. You can't run forever, Pete.
Right? That's so funny. That's so funny. So are you on tour?
I am on tour. I am going to be in, I think, Philly, San Francisco. I'm hurling myself to a lot of places this month. But if you are watching this, just go to my website or Rachel-Feinstein.com or Punch Up Live. I have all my tickets on Punch Up Live, which is a site now that has a lot of comics on it. So my tour dates are there.
That's awesome.
Or you can see me on my special on Netflix. It's called Big Guy.
Big Guy. It was so good. I watched it this morning. It was really great.
So cool that you watched it.
It was so good. It's packed, man. It's like joke. You get your money's worth for sure.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I should say before we go, remember when I did the Bert roast?
Yes.
Okay, so you were so lovely to me that day. And earlier during the day, I meant to say this in the beginning, I did the Bert's podcast before we did the roast, and I had not met you yet. And Whitney told me you were really lovely and warm and everything. But the writers in the room had written, I can't even remember the jokes now. They wrote a few jokes. They were just like jokes about you. Silly, ridiculous. I can't remember what they were. And then I met you and I was like, I don't want to do those jokes. She's so sweet. I mean, they were really stupid jokes. So it wasn't too offensive, but I remember being worried about it after the roast for the rest of the night. I was like, she was so lovely and nice and I should have done those jokes. And Whitney was like, she wouldn't give a shit.
I don't give a shit.
And guarantee she doesn't remember them.
No, didn't give a shit at all. No, I
was worried for like 6 months afterwards.
Oh, please.
And she was like, all my comic friends were like, I guarantee she couldn't give a fuck.
No, you were right. No, I mean, have you watched any of Bert's specials? He's talked about me farting on his chin. He's talked about me like that. And there's so many bad things he talks about me. I don't. Funny is funny. And that's where it ends for me. So have at it. No, I have no problem being the butt of the joke, obviously. And you know what? People like you now and like Whitney know me well enough to know that I think fun is fun.
Yeah.
That roast was fun.
Yeah, that's what she said. And then like she was like, you should tell her that. She'd probably get a kick out of the fact that you were even thinking about that at all, because now I like see how much I invented that in my head. Yeah.
No, I would never have wanted you to have thought twice about it. So I'm sorry you worried at all, because
you were always so lovely to me. And that night it was really fun meeting you. And I had so much fun doing this. Thank you for having me. That's very cute.
Oh, that's Paula the Panther. You know, I got really drunk one night and someone called me a cougar. And I went, I am not a cougar. I am a panther. I will never be a cougar. I am always a panther because I am stealth like the night. I am beautiful and sleek, and I am I am a panther. I went on this whole rant about being a panther. And then people started giving me panthers. See, I have panther.
Oh my God, I didn't even notice that.
So, but that's Paula the
This room is
panther.
teeming with panthers.
I'm teaming with my daughters. Give me stuffed panthers.
It's funny. My mom has a panther above the sink, and then like there's a little sign there that says "Wonder Woman works here." Yeah. So I guess a panther is a symbol of strength. You're a goddamn hot panther.
I'm a
Shit.
panther.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming and being in my panther den.